Hola señores y señoras, ¿cómo están? ¿Qué tal? Estamos aquí otra vez, estamos aquí en la clase de español. Espero que ustedes estén muy felices, muy alegres, muy contentos, realmente muy emocionados de estar aquí conmigo. Yo estoy emocionado de estar aquí con ustedes. Hoy tenemos que hablar, hoy hablamos de dos verbos muy importantes, que son los verbos saber y conocer. Saber y conocer son dos verbos en español que significan en inglés to know. Son dos verbos que significan to know. Así que tenemos que estudiar un poco. Ustedes tienen que aprender cuándo usamos saber y cuándo usamos conocer, porque tienen dos usos muy distintos, muy diferentes. Welcome back to Spanish class. I hope that you're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with you. Today we're going to be looking at two very important verbs in Spanish, saber and conocer, which are both verbs that mean to know. What we need to look at is when we use saber and when we use conocer. They both have two different, very different uses, and it's important to see when we use one and when we use the other. In a nutshell, before I change the camera and we could take a look at some of them in writing. In a nutshell, here's the basic distinction. Saber is a word that we're going to use to talk about knowing facts or pieces of information. This can mean, if I want to say, I know the population of Zimbabwe. I know where Zimbabwe is. I know the name of the capital of Zimbabwe. I know your phone number. Okay? These would all be saber, because here we're always talking about knowing a fact or a piece of information. I know where London is. These would all be saber. Saber we're also going to use to talk about knowing something by heart or knowing something by memory. And when we do that, we use an expression, saber de memoria. Okay, so knowing something by heart. I know the poem The Raven by heart. I know the Bible by heart. I know your phone number by heart. For all of these, we would use saber. And finally, we'll use saber to talk about knowing how to do something. So I know how to dance, you know how to cook. All of these we would use saber to discuss. Conocer, on the other hand, is the verb that we use to talk about being familiar or acquainted with someone, something, or some place. Meaning, I know John, we'll use conocer. I know Susie, we'll use conocer. I know Texas, meaning I've been to Texas. I know Texas, conocer. This doesn't mean that I have to be 100% knowledgeable on everything Texan, nor that I need to know how to speak Texan. It doesn't mean that I need to know even all that much about Texas at all. But by me saying I know Texas, it means I've been to Texas. I'm familiar or acquainted with the place. We can also use it to talk about art or films or literature. Things like this that we're familiar or acquainted with. So I know Hemingway's work. I know Picasso's work. This doesn't mean I have to know that all that well. I can say, oh, I know Faulkner's work. Not so well. Okay, so those are the basic distinctions. So let's look at the list with what I've just told you, and we'll look at a few examples. So, as I said, saber, we use it for knowing facts or pieces of information. We use it to say that we know something by heart, when we say saber de memoria. And we use it to talk about knowing how to do something. So I know how to dance, that sort of thing. Conocer we use to express the idea of being familiar or acquainted with someone, something, or some place. So let's look at a few examples of all of them. First, knowing some facts or information. I can say, for instance, yo sé tu número de teléfono. Okay, I know your phone number. Knowing something by heart, we can say, Juan sabe la Biblia de memoria. Juan knows the Bible by heart. I can move this de memoria around a little bit. I could say Juan sabe de memoria la Biblia or Juan sabe la Biblia de memoria. When we talk about knowing how to do something, don't put in any extra words. It's hard for us to do that sometimes because in English we say, I know how to swim, and people want to put an a in there or como in there or something. But simply we'll say something like, ellos saben cocinar, which would mean they know how to cook. Ellos saben cocinar. Conocer, to be familiar or acquainted with. So we can say, conozco Londres. I know London. Conozco Londres. Or I can say, conoce los libros de Poe. Okay, he knows Poe's books. We obviously also use this with people. When we use conocer to discuss a person, be very careful. There's something we need to do, which is conozco, right? I know. Instead of just saying Juan, for example, we need to say conozco a Juan. It's a separate word. Conozco a Juan. So anytime that you know a person, it could be conozco a tu profesor. Meaning I know your professor. Conozco a tu profesor. But if what we know is a person, we need to put an a there. We don't use that a when what we know is a place or a thing or something. Okay, so that's saber y conocer. Check out the PowerPoint. Do the quiz. Good luck with it. Y adios.